In the twilight of a beautiful day, when fancy seized upon my mind, I passed by the edge of the city and tarried before the wreck of an abandoned house of which only rubble was left. In the rubble I saw a dog lying upon dirt and ashes. Sores covered his skin, and sickness racked his feeble body. Staring now and then at the setting sun, his sorrowful eyes expressed humiliation, despair, and misery. I walked slowly toward him, wishing that I knew animal speech, so that I might console him with my sympathy. But my approach only terrified him, and he tried to rise on his weak legs. Falling, he turned to look on me in which helpless wrath was mingled with supplication. In that glance was speech more lucid than man's and more moving than a woman's tears. This is what I understood him to say. Man, I have suffered through illness caused by your brutality and persecution. I have run from your bruising foot and taken refuge here, for dust and ashes are gentler than man's heart. These ruins less melancholy than the soul of man. Begone, you intruder, from the world of misrule and injustice. I am a miserable creature who served the son of Adam with faith and loyalty. I was man's faithful companion. I guarded him day and night. I grieved during his absence and welcomed him with joy upon his return. I was contented with the crumbs that fell from his board and happy with the bones that his teeth had stripped. But when I grew old and ill, he drove me from his home and left me to merciless boys of the alleys. O son of Adam, I see the similarity between me and your fellow men when age disables them. There are soldiers who fought for their country when they were in the prime of life, and who later tilled its soil. But now that the winter of their life has come and they are useful no longer, they are cast aside. I also see a resemblance between my lot and that of a woman who during the days of her lovely maidenhood enlivened the heart of a young man, and who then as a mother devoted her life to her children. But now grown old, she is ignored and avoided. How oppressive you are, human, and how cruel. Thus spoke the speechless animal, whom my heart had understood. I knew him as a youth lost on the path of life, goaded by wild impulse and following death in pursuit of his desires. I knew him as a tender flower borne by the winds of rashness into the sea of lust. I knew him in that village as an ill-natured boy, tearing with cruel hands at the birds' nests, slaying the nestlings, and trampling with his feet the beautiful crowns of the sweet flowers. I knew him at school as an adolescent averse to learning, arrogant, and an enemy of peace. I knew him in the city as a young man, trading his father's honor in sinister markets, spending his father's money in houses of ill fame, and surrendering his mind to the fruit of the vine. However, I loved him. And my love for him was a mingling of sorrow and sympathy. I loved him because his sins were not born of a small spirit, but rather the deeds of a lost and desperate soul. The spirit, my people, strays from the path of wisdom unwillingly, but returns to it willingly. When the whirlwinds of youth blow dust and sand, the eyes are blind for a time. I loved that youth because I saw the dove of his conscience struggling with the hawk of his evils. and I saw that the dove was not subdued by its own cowardice, but by the strength of its enemy. Conscience is a just but a weak judge. Weakness leaves it powerless to execute its judgment. I said I loved him, and love comes in different shapes. Sometimes it comes in wisdom, at other times in justice, and oftentimes in hope. My love for him sustained my hope of seeing the light in him triumph over the darkness. But I knew not when and where would his defilement turn into purity, his brutality into meekness, his recklessness into wisdom. Man does not know in what manner the soul frees itself from the slavery of matter until after it is freed. Neither does man know how the flowers smile save after the coming of the morn. The days passed following the nights, and I remembered the youth with painful sighs. I repeated his name with affection that made the heart bleed. Then yesterday a letter came from him saying, "Come to me, my friend, for I wish to unite you with a young man whom your heart will rejoice to meet, and your soul will be refreshed to know." I said, "My God, does he intend to mingle his sad friendship with another one similar to it? Is he not alone a sufficient example to the world of error and sin? Does he now wish to reinforce his misdeeds with those of his companions so that I may see them in double darkness?" Then I said to myself, I must go. Perhaps the wise soul shall reap figs from the brambles, and the loving heart shall extract light from the darkness. When night came, I found him alone in his room reading a book of verses. "Where is the new friend?" I asked. And he answered, "I am he, my friend." And he displayed a calmness I had never seen in him before. In his eyes I could see now a strange light that penetrated the heart. Those eyes in which I had seen cruelty before were radiant with the light of kindness. Then with a voice that I thought came from another, he said, "The youth whom you knew during childhood and with whom you walked to school is dead. With his death I was born. I am your new friend. Take my hand." As I shook his hand, I felt the existence of a gentle spirit circulating with the blood. His iron hand had become soft and kind. His fingers, which yesterday tore like a tiger's claws, today caressed the heart. Then I spoke again. Who are you and what has happened? How have you become this kind of person? Has the Holy Spirit entered your heart and sanctified your soul? Or are you playing a part, the invention of a poet? And he said, "Aye, my friend, the Spirit descended upon me and blessed me. A great love has made my heart a pure altar. It is woman, my friend. Woman that I thought yesterday a toy in the hands of man, who has delivered me from the darkness of hell and opened before me the gates of paradise where I have entered. A true woman has taken me into the Jordan River of her love and baptized me. The woman whose sister I disrespected through my ignorance has exalted me to the throne of glory. The woman whose companion I have defiled with my wickedness has purified my heart with her affections. The woman whose kind I have enslaved with my father's gold has freed me with her beauty. The woman who had Adam driven from paradise by the strength of her will has restored me to paradise by her tenderness and my obedience." I was 18 years of age when love opened my eyes with its magic rays and touched my spirit for the first time with its fiery fingers. And Salma was the first woman who awakened my spirit with her beauty and led me into the garden of high affection where days passed like dreams and nights like weddings. Salma was the one who taught me to worship beauty by the example of her own beauty and revealed to me the secret of love by her affection. She was the one who first sang to me the poetry of real life. Every young man remembers his first love and tries to recapture that strange hour, the memory of which changes his deepest feeling and makes him so happy in spite of all the bitterness of its mystery. In every young man's life there is a Salma who appears to him suddenly while in the spring of life and transforms his solitude into happy moments and fills the silence of his nights with music. I was deeply engrossed in thought and contemplation and seeking to understand the meaning of nature and the revelation of books and scriptures when I heard love whispered into my ears through Salma's lips. My life was a coma, empty like that of Adam's in paradise, when I saw Salma standing before me like a column of light. She was the Eve of my heart who filled it with secrets and wonders and made me understand the meaning of life. The first Eve led Adam out of paradise by her own will, while Salma made me enter willingly into the paradise of pure love and virtue by her sweetness and love. But what happened to the first man also happened to me. And the fiery sword which chased Adam out of paradise was like the one which frightened me by its glittering edge and forced me away from the paradise of my love without having disobeyed any order or tasted the fruit of the forbidden tree. Today, after many years have passed, I have nothing left out of that beautiful dream except painful memories flapping like invisible wings around me, filling the depths of my heart with sorrow and bringing tears to my eyes. And my beloved, beautiful Salma is dead. And nothing is left to commemorate her except my broken heart and a tomb surrounded by cypress trees. That tomb and this heart are all that is left to bear witness of Salma. The silence that guards the tomb does not reveal God's secret in the obscurity of the coffin. and the rustling of the branches whose roots suck the body's elements do not tell the mysteries of the grave. But the agonized sighs of my heart announce to the living the drama which love, beauty, and death have performed. Oh, friends of my youth, who are scattered in the city, when you pass by that cemetery near the pine forest, enter it silently and walk slowly so the tramping of your feet will not disturb the slumber of the dead. Stop humbly by Salma's tomb. Greet the earth. Mention my name and say to yourself, here all the hopes of Gibran, who is living as a prisoner of love beyond the seas, were buried. On this spot, he lost his happiness, drained his tears, and forgot his smile. By that tomb grows Gibran's sorrow together with the cypress trees. And above the tomb his spirit flickers every night, commemorating Salma, joining the branches of the trees in sorrowful wailing, mourning and lamenting the going of Salma, who yesterday was a beautiful tune on the lips of life, and today a silent secret in the bosom of the earth. O comrades of my youth, I appeal to you in the names of those virgins whom your hearts have loved, to lay a wreath of flowers on the forsaken tomb of my beloved. For the flowers you lay on Salma's tomb are like falling drops of dew from the eyes of dawn on the leaves of a withering rose. You ask me, my brother, when will man reach perfection? Hear my answer. Man approaches perfection when he feels that he is an infinite space and a sea without a shore, an everlasting fire, an unquenchable light, a calm wind or a raging tempest, a thundering sky or a rainy heaven, a singing brook or a wailing rivulet, a tree abloom in spring or a naked sapling in autumn, a rising mountain or a descending valley, a fertile plain or a desert. When man feels all these, he has already reached halfway to perfection. To attain his goal, he must then perceive that he is a child, dependent upon his mother, a father responsible for his family, a youth lost in love, an ancient wrestling against his past, a worshiper in his temple, a criminal in his prison, a scholar amidst his parchments, an ignorant soul stumbling between the darkness of his night and the obscurity of his day, a nun suffering between the flowers of her faith and the thistles of her loneliness, a prostitute caught between the fangs of her weakness and the claws of her needs, a poor man trapped between his bitterness and his submission, a rich man between his greed and his conscience, a poet between the mist of his twilight and the rays of his dawn. Who can experience, see, and understand these things can reach perfection and become a shadow of God's shadow. I purified my lips with the sacred fire to speak of love, but could find no words. When love became known to me, the words lapsed into a faint gasping, and the song in my heart into deep silence. Oh, you who asked me about love, whom I convinced of its mysteries and wonders. Now, since love has wrapped me in its veil, I come to you to ask about love's course and merit. Who can answer my questions? I ask about that which is in me. I seek to be informed about myself. Who among you can reveal my inner self to myself and my soul to my soul? Tell me for love's sake. What is that flame which burns in my heart and devours my strength and dissolves my will? What are those hidden, soft, and rough hands that grasp my soul? What is that wine mixed of bitter joy and sweet pain that suffuses my heart? What are those wings that hover over my pillow in the silence of night and keeps me awake, watching no one knows what? What is the invisible thing I stare at? The incomprehensible thing that I ponder, the feeling that cannot be sensed. In my sighs is a grief more beautiful than the echo of laughter and more rapturous than joy. Why do I surrender myself to an unknown power that slaves me and revives me until dawn rises and fills my chamber with its light? Phantoms of wakefulness tremble between my seared eyelids, and shadows of dreams hover over my stony bed. What is that which we call love? Tell me. What is that secret hidden within the ages, yet which permeates all consciousness? What is this consciousness that is at once origin and result of everything? What is this vigil that fashions from life and death a dream, stranger than life and deeper than death? Tell me, friends, is there one among you who would not awake from the slumber of life if love touched his soul with its fingertip? Which one of you would not leave his father and mother at the call of the virgin whom his heart loves? Who among you would not sail the distant seas, cross the deserts, and climb the topmost peak to meet the woman whom his soul has chosen? What youth's heart would not follow to the ends of the world the maiden whose aromatic breath, sweet voice, and magic soft hands have enraptured his soul? What being would not burn his heart as incense before a God who listens to his supplications and grants his prayer? Yesterday I stood at the temple door interrogating the passers-by about the mystery and merit of love. And before me passed an old man with an emaciated and melancholy face. He sighed and said, "Love is a natural weakness bestowed upon us by the first man." But a virile youth retorted, "Love joins our present with the past and the future." Then a woman with a tragic face sighed and said, "Love is a deadly poison injected by black vipers that crawl from the caves of hell. The poison seems fresh as dew, and the thirsty soul eagerly drinks it. But after the first intoxication, the drinker sickens and dies a slow death." Then a beautiful rosy-cheeked damsel smilingly said, "Love is wine served by the brides of dawn, which strengthens strong souls and enables them to ascend to the stars." After her, a black-robed, bearded man frowning said, "Love is the blind ignorance with which youth begins and ends." Another smiling declared, Love is a divine knowledge that enables men to see as much as the gods. Then said a blind man, feeling his way with a cane, love is a blinding mist that keeps the soul from discerning the secret of existence, so that the heart sees only trembling phantoms of desire among the hills and hears only echoes of cries from voiceless valleys. A young man sang, love is a magic ray emitted from the burning core of the soul and illuminating the surrounding earth. It enables us to perceive life as a beautiful dream between one awakening and another. And a feeble ancient, dragging his feet like two rags, said in quavering tones, love is the rest of the body and the quiet of the grave, the tranquility of the soul in the depth of eternity. And a 5-year-old child after him said, laughing, love is my father and mother, and no one knows love save my father and mother. And so, all who passed spoke of love as the image of their hopes and frustrations, leaving it a mystery as before. Then I heard a voice within the temple. Life is divided into two halves, one frozen, the other aflame. The burning half is love. Thereupon I entered the temple, kneeling, rejoicing, and praying. Make me, O Lord, nourishment for the blazing flame. Make me, O God, food for the sacred fire. Amen. From behind the wall of the present, I heard the hymns of humanity. I heard the sounds of the bells announcing the beginning of the prayer in the temple of beauty. Bells molded in the metal of emotion and poised above the holy altar, the human heart. From behind the future, I saw multitudes worshiping on the bosom of nature, their faces turned toward the east and awaiting the inundation of the morning light, the morning of truth. I saw the city in ruins, and nothing remaining to tell man of the defeat of ignorance and the triumph of light. I saw the elders seated under the shade of cypress and willow trees, surrounded by youths listening to their tales of former times. I saw the youths strumming their guitars and piping on their reeds, and the damsels dancing under the jasmine trees. I saw husbands harvesting the wheat, and the wives gathering the sheaves and singing mirthful songs. I saw a woman adorning herself with a crown of lilies and a girdle of green leaves. I saw friendship strengthened between man and all creatures, and clans of birds and butterflies, confident and secure, winging toward the brooks. I saw no poverty, neither did I encounter excess. I saw fraternity and equality prevailing among man. I saw not one physician, for everyone had the means and knowledge to heal himself. I found no priest, for conscience had become the high priest. Neither did I see a lawyer, for nature has taken the place of the courts, and treaties of amity and companionship were in force. I saw that man knew that he is the cornerstone of creation, and that he has raised himself above littleness and baseness, and cast off the veil of confusion from the eyes of the soul. This soul now reads what the clouds write on the face of heaven, and what the breeze draws on the surface of the water. Now understands the meaning of the flower's breath and the cadences of the nightingale. From behind the wall of the present, upon the stage of coming ages, I saw beauty as a groom, and spirit as a bride, and life as the ceremonial night
of the catering.
Karıma kayolursa araman, ben biraz tatlısıyım mamullara yaraman. Mantaları karıma kayolursa araman, ben biraz tatlısıyım mamullara yaraman. Güzelim yallah, şekerim yallah yallah. İki kimi yayana haydi yavrum yürümesin. İki bacı dayana haydi yavrum yürümesin.
I said to my friend, see her leaning over his arm? Yesterday she leaned over my arm. And he said, tomorrow she will lean over mine. And I said, see her sitting at his side? And yesterday she sat at my side. And he said, tomorrow she will sit at mine. And I said, don't you see her drinking from his cup? And yesterday she sipped from mine. And he said, tomorrow she will drink from mine. And I said, look how she glances at him with eyes full of love. And with just such love, yesterday she glanced at me. And he said, tomorrow she will glance at me likewise. And I said, listen to her whispering songs of love in his ears. And yesterday she whispered the same songs in mine. And he said, tomorrow she will whisper them in mine. And I said, look at her embracing him, and yesterday she embraced me. And he said, tomorrow she will lie in my arms. And I said, what a strange woman she is. And he said, she is life